Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. Probably thinking, how many more lightsabers can this guy actually review, right? Well, I mean, if you want to be very precise about it, there's exactly 25 versions of Master Replicas, Star Wars lightsabers. There's a lot more if you make the distinction between Signature Edition, Elite Edition, limited edition, etc. But the way I think of it, if you want to get the most exclusive version of each lightsaber that's technically unique, there's 25 of them. You can check for yourself, do the research. But for instance, for Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, the Luke Skywalker lightsaber, the iconic one, the first one we see on the big screen. There's the limited edition, the elite edition, and the signature edition. So those three are, of course, the same hilt, just various differences. So if you want, quote unquote, the most exclusive, it would be the signature edition, which is limited to 750, followed by the elite edition, which is 1,000. Now, I did happen to buy both the elite and the signature because in my mind, I felt that there was a distinct difference between the superior quality of materials used for the elite version and then, of course, Mark Hamill's signature. But in general, I did not do that. So, for instance, if you have a Qui-Gon Jinn, then there's only one possibility, there's only one choice. If you have Obi-Wan from Phantom Menace, there's only one choice. But if, for instance, you had a choice between, say, the Return of the Jedi version 1, then I would try to get the elite edition because that's the more rare version of that versus the limited edition. So if you go by those rules, then there's exactly 25 that Master Replicas made. And so in any case, eventually they're going to stop. They're not endless like, say, statues or whatever. There's only so many of these hilts that are out there. And, as I've been collecting them, they're beginning, of course, to be more and more and more difficult to source. So this is the one I got with the Obi-Wan Episode 3 as a package deal. I find it just really interesting that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of collectors who have the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. If you have one collector who buys one, almost always they'll have the other one. And they're not like me, and buy like, say, almost all the sabers or all the signature editions. That's not really the way it works. Sometimes they'll specifically only just have them. They may have maybe one or two more or one more, but they have those two, Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker Episode 3. Some will just have those two. So I find that kind of interesting that this happens way more than, I would have thought. And I'm conjecturing that maybe the reason that happens is because I guess in the movie, the two are so intimately connected. There's so much history between the two of them that you follow them, when one was just a child in Phantom Menace where the two of them were basically like brothers, one a Jedi Master, the other a Jedi Knight. And sort of, the intensity of emotion of the third movie that portrays, essentially the fall of Anakin into becoming Darth Vader, and that, kind of climactic duel between the two of them on Mustafar. So it could be that for a lot of people who are fans of that movie, they wanted to get both together. But in any case, this is obviously the Anakin Skywalker limited edition a lightsaber from the Episode 3 Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. As you can see, I have the double plaques, even though the person I bought from, just like with Obi-Wan Kenobi, only had the limited edition plaque, not the worldwide edition. This lightsaber, just like Obi-Wan's, was just in meticulous condition, beautiful condition, really. He said he handled it probably less than, 5-6 times in the close to 18 years since he bought this, and I do believe it. When it came in, it was a little bit, dusty, a few smudge marks here or there, but nothing that a nice clean with a microfiber cloth couldn't take care of. As usual with all of my lightsabers that I buy used, they all come polished with the brilliant eyes, so the acrylic case is gone over. The mirror base also polished as well, and then the lightsaber itself also polished. I try not to use any caustic materials, especially for some of the episode 3 lightsabers. I find that you kind of have to live with some of this stuff because I don't own the Yoda one, but from the Sidious review, that that one comes with a clear coat that really you just can't mess with. And I found that both Anakin and Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith are heavily chromed, and I don't really know what's the safe way to properly, I guess, take care of the chrome. I have both Malms as well as Brasso, metal polish, but I feel like I don't know how. I feel like if you try to polish the chrome, you could maybe damage it. And so luckily, both came in really, really condition. Maybe there's like this little tiny sub-millimeter area that you might think of as a little tiny imperfection, but it's so small that it's essentially invisible. And I don't want to damage the finish of this beautiful hilt for something like that's almost essentially invisible. And this lightsaber, I would give it like a grade. If I had graded lightsabers, I would give this a grade like probably a 90, 97, 98% out of 100, 97, 98 out of 100. Like a 100 would be maybe like brand new, and a really good brand new, like maybe, because sometimes you can get scratches just from dust particles, right? Even in a sealed hilt. So like 100 would probably be like a good lucky opening from a brand new box sealed lightsaber. And this one probably in the high 90s. I would guess I would think about 97, near perfect. Okay, so again, there's a 4,500 of these guys, and they're not hard to find, but in the proper condition, complete in box with blah blah blah, it could be tricky. Again, mine came in the original packaging with the color box and the black sleeve, but it was missing the brown shipper. Those brown shippers honestly were so crappy. I own several of them. I'm amazed that so many people actually kept those brown shippers. I can completely understand people throwing them away. They just looks absolutely inconsequential. But that does affect the value now, almost 20 years down the line. But for me, luckily, I care not for such things. As long as the hilt itself is in good condition, I'm happy. And so here we are. So finding, again, Anakin in good condition is not an easy task. There's a lot of areas where you could have, again, corrosion, oxidation, bad, care, stuff like that. This one was taken care of very, very nicely. You can definitely tell, based on the condition. So what is it about this lightsaber that's so amazing? This is the one that I think really captured a lot of people's imagination. There's a YouTuber named Star Wars Theory, who bought this one. He was just a kid when, he was enraptured by Star Wars. I guess the original prequels were to him what the original trilogy was to us, older generation, people my generation in their late 40s, early 50s, let's just say. Even I'm a little bit young, for the original Star Wars. I managed to catch the tail end of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Like Return of the Jedi was really actually my movie, but he was so excited to get this lightsaber, and I think there's a couple of reasons for this. It's because this is actually like the lightsaber hilt that Anakin wields as a Jedi Knight, kind of like at the height of his powers, before he falls to the dark side and becomes Darth Vader. The hilt he uses in episode 2, I think is really cool. I don't have that hilt. There's a signature edition version of that. I would like to obviously get that someday. But I actually really, really like that hilt because it's sort of like the light side mirror of the Darth Vader one. So I really like that, but this is the one, like that's the one he had when he was a Padawan and was in Attack of the Clones. But this is of Anakin, again, as Jedi Knight, and probably should have been, Master. I mean, any of you who follow the lore of the movie will get that reference. But that's the hilt he has at the height of his powers. It's widely accepted that the Revenge of the Sith was, of course, the end of the prequel trilogy. Had the most darkness, had the most sort of drama. A lot of people thought it was the best of the three prequel trilogy movies. This is the lightsaber he used to duel Obi-Wan. So there's just a lot of history for a lot of people, who grew up really idolizing or enjoying those prequel films. This lightsaber, to a great extent, is sort of like almost like the ultimate, version. Like for those who loved Anakin Skywalker, loved his character. For those who followed him in the Clone Wars, which largely, Filoni's Clone Wars over 6-7 seasons, really largely redeemed the horrible writing and direction that Lucas gave us in the prequel movies. Like if you're a fan of Anakin Skywalker, this is sort of like the Holy Grail. This is sort of like the lightsaber hilt to own. So I think there's that, number one. Number two, I think it's just like a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous lightsaber. I've mentioned this in my other Revenge of the Sith reviews. I've done a couple of them now. I've done the Darth Sidious, the Obi-Wan. This is my third with Anakin. I did the Darth Vader one like almost 6-7 years ago, and I'll probably dust that off and redo that review. I doubt I did it justice when I first went over that one all those years ago. But I made the point several times that the Revenge of the Sith hilts are just absolutely magnificent. Whatever you feel about the movies themselves, or the movie itself, not the movies, but the movie itself about Revenge of the Sith, it's just, I don't think it's really even refutable that their lightsaber designs are off the charts. They are stunning. Every one of them, just this beautiful combination of the reimagining of the original iconic designs, but just plus to the nines, and all hand machine, built from scratch by the prop department. The inspiration came, of course, from the original versions. It is a prequel, so inspired by those original designs. But of course, the original designs was just like a hodgepodge of random parts that they threw together. Flash guns, and in Obi-Wan's case, random parts off jet engines that they have taken apart to build other, other things on set. Grenade, part of a grenade, part of a machine gun, blah, blah, blah. So they would take this hodgepodge, design from the original trilogy, and then they would sort of redesign it and make it look so much better, so much more beautiful. And so this is no exception. We'll be able to look at it a little bit more carefully when I lift it up and actually handle it in front of you. But this is obviously inspired by the original Luke Skywalker lightsaber. So in a real way, this is sort of the Excalibur of Star Wars. Some people have given it that type of moniker. And so again, you can see the elements of the Graflex flash gun that forms the basis of the Luke Skywalker New Hope lightsaber. And I talked extensively about that. You can reference those videos to really get the history and the parts. But remember that hilt was given to Luke in Star Wars: A New Hope as as the hilt from his father. And so technically, this is the lightsaber that Obi-Wan picked up off of Mustafar after dueling Anakin. And he took this with him, and then later on gave it to Luke decades later. And so the lineage has to be consistent. You have to obviously feel like this could be that saber handed ultimately to Luke. And so it's kind of interesting because of that prequel, nature, where you're making a sequel to the movie, but it's occurring before the sequel occurs. It's kind of awkward. Things are supposed to look older because, again, it predates, but instead it looks so much better. So it's kind of interesting from a lore point of view to sort of rationalize this. But the bottom line is that this is supposed to be the saber decades later, more broken down, more grimy, more weathered, that Obi-Wan, as an older man, gives to the young Luke Skywalker who's just coming of age. And so there is that design, but again, with the plussing, with the gold accents, with the chrome, so that you believe that this was actually being held by a Jedi Knight at the height of the Old Republic. So from a purely, I think, design aesthetic, from a quality aesthetic, it's an absolutely stunning lightsaber. And that's why I think so many people, captures the imagination of so many people, and why so many people like it. Because, for me, I'm like an original trilogy guy. So for me, it's all about Han Solo, Carrie Fisher, Luke Skywalker, Vader. Like those characters to me are like unassailable. And then the prequels, when I watched it, when did I watch this? I think it was like 90. Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace must have been like 97, maybe 97, 98-ish. And then I think Attack of the Clones must have been 2001, 2002-ish. But the original, the prequel trilogy, to me seemed like just pale imitations. I really was not a big fan of those. But I can imagine that for people, who are maybe my age, that for them the prequel trilogies were amazing, and if for them, it's amazing, then obviously these prop replicas are like grails, to them. And so the prices for Anakin, can just range very widely. I would say that normally if you have a complete in-box Anakin in this type of condition, I would say 1,500 is way, way, way more than fair. There was one sold pretty recently with the original brown shipper that went for over 2,000. It was a legit price, legit sale. I talked to the gentleman who sold it, and it was legit. It wasn't like trumped up or anything like that. I sold it for well over 2,000, maybe 2,300 plus, and so that's a huge high point for this saber. I actually think mine is a little bit better condition, honestly, than the one that he sold. This definitely comes from a place where, I think it was a little bit better taken care of, in my opinion. But still, it's definitely hard to say. But in general, I would say 1,500 would be a very, very solid price, and anything less than 1,500 would be very, very good price, especially for this type of condition. No double plaque does hurt the value a little bit, but you can always source that extra plaque later on if you know where to look. Although everything from Master Replicas is getting more rare over the years, and everything from the acrylic to the mirror base, like everything is just getting more and more rare. Like sometimes things lose their value, but it seems like I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm being proven wrong later on, but it seems like Master Replicas, like that stuff really does hold their value. People just they really love it, and the prices do go up. So that's kind of a very general discussion of quality, of price, of why this is so amazing. Let me take the acrylic case off, and we can then begin twirling it around with the black background. So as usual, here we go. So you can appreciate more fully how beautiful this looks. You can see the light just reflecting off the chrome. You can see my gloves, the reflection. These are just literally mirrors. They're a little bit tall, so I have to just move it forward just to make sure it can actually rotate all the way. Again, you can see that there's a cover tag here that's used to hang on the belt versus the D-rings from the original trilogy. You can see the T-tracks as well. I don't know whether they changed something in the production, but you see a lot more rarely the so-called sticky rubber effect on some of these newer hilts. You hardly see it at all, honestly. in the Revenge of the Sith versions. So it seems to be a problem that they addressed and they solved. Now there is kind of one little regret, is that for Hayden Christensen, there was a signature edition of the Attack of the Clones lightsaber, but for whatever reason, he never did a signature edition of the Revenge of the Sith, which is a shame because, of course, this is, in my opinion, a bit more iconic actually than the Attack of the Clones version. And I don't know why. I mean, it could just be scheduling. Maybe he was just a bigger star by the time of the third movie, and so Master Replicas couldn't afford him. Maybe there was already a little bit of kind of backlash against his portrayal as Anakin from Attack of the Clones, which wasn't super well received at the time, and maybe he just didn't, he wasn't really feeling it right for the fans. But for whatever reason, there was never a signature version of this lightsaber, which is a shame. So I've had a gentleman named Ariel make me a custom signature plaque, and knock on wood, I have a couple of those on their way to GalaxyCon in the next week, actually, to be signed by Mr. Christensen. It's ascended, and so hopefully it'll be done without any mishap, and it'll come back to me, and I'll be actually able to have a signature edition version, custom, of course, for this. I'm really looking forward to it. As you saw with my Darth Sidious, signature plaque, it just looks essentially almost indistinguishable from the official licensed Master Replicas signature plaques, and I think it would just look amazing with this hilt. So I am obviously really looking forward to that. You just have to be very patient. It can take months, I hear, for them to finally process and ship them, but it'll be worth it. So from there, I'll be able to move these plaques to the side and put that signature edition right in the center. So we'll have Hayden Christensen's authentic signature with this hilt. Obviously not the same as a officially licensed numbered edition, but it will have to do. And again, eventually I do plan on getting the Attack of the Clones Anakin Skywalker as well. So there you have that. Just sort of continuing to twirl things around. Let's take a look at the certificate of authenticity right here. There's not much to show. This is very similar to all of them. Black fold out envelope. And again, this one just has the limited edition warranty and then the actual certificate itself. Because this is a limited edition, it's not a trifold. There's no, obviously, a picture of Hayden signing this. So you can see here pretty clearly what it looks like. The front and the back, 2005. And then if you open it, again, gold seal of authenticity and their rather generic message. Over here, you can see it's Revenge of the Sith, Anakin Skywalker lightsaber. And here, I'll just slowly scroll up so you can read their blurb. It ends with a little discussion about, again, the design decisions. So it's a chrome-plated brass body, polished aluminum center band. You see that they replaced the red button. They copied the placement of the red button, I'm sorry, but they replaced the glass eye with a copper colored dome. They followed, interestingly, the Episode 5 Empire Strikes Back versions with the 6 grips, a narrow center band, and the unique laser etch design, the control box top. So, interesting stuff. All right, so that's the certificate of authenticity. You can freeze it at any time to read those details a bit more. aside for now. Let's take a look at the plaque. So again, this is the original signature edition plaque. I mean, not signature, the limited edition plaque. You can see it's number 787. And again, it's very, very loose because the tape is already gone. I still have to decide what to do with it. But as you can see, there's slightly recessed. So if you don't mess with it too much, it's not going to really do much of anything. If I'm just going to display it forever, I don't see any need really to try to glue or retape it or anything like that. We'll put that aside. And then, of course, this is the worldwide edition plaque. This came, by the way, from Master Replicas already affixed. I don't know whether they used glue or whatever, but it's pretty solidly on there. And I've always wondered why they didn't do that with the, with like the actual limited edition plaques. I mean, it would have taken that much more. Why did they force you to peel the double-sided tape off and then put the individual plaque on? Like, I don't understand what was all of that about. But in any case, whatever, here they didn't leave it a chance. If you sent for this, it came already attached. And judging by how it feels, I feel like it feels like this is glued in and not taped in at all. So as with all of the episode 3 plaques, you can see here the logo, the name. It's a bit more shiny actually. If you look at this thing, you can tell that there's a little bit difference here between the brushed metal look from here versus here. But in any case, it tells you that this was released November 18th, 2005 with a worldwide edition of 4,500, which I believe is the same limitation as the Obi-Wan Kenobi version. So again, they made quite a bit of these. But if they did, why oh why is it so hard to get a good version? So as before, we're gonna move the stand to the side, and then I'm going to gently lift this up. You can feel, again, the weight of this beautiful replica. The grip feels really, really good. It doesn't feel sticky at all. You can definitely tell that there was a bit more of a angle. And yeah, it is the Empire Strikes Back version. You can see that this doesn't have the 30-degree bevel. It's 90 degrees. There's also there's also 6 of those T-tracks. While we're doing that, look at this mirror finish. 2005 Master Replicas Inc., 2005 Lucasfilms. Beautiful finish here. Looking at the T-tracks, looks good. This is again the cover tech that you use to slip into the belt clip to be distinguished from the D-ring. Overall, very, very beautiful. You see there's just a little bit of dust here. It's hard to get rid of this stuff, Probably eventually you're gonna have to use a little bit of tape or something to get it off, or like a makeup brush. So here is the control box. So a lot of these Anakins, this is just heavily rusted. Like, I don't know the deal for why that happens. But I'm going super close. You can tell that this is a beautiful specimen of this particular hilt. No oxidation, no rusting, no scratches, nothing like that. Control box, beautifully done. And then this gold-plated lever also has, a lot of them have horrible damage to this. Just kind of cracking, peeling. You can see this is absolutely immaculate. Gold-plated again. And therein lies a little bit of an interesting thing, because again, from the lore, we know that Anakin Skywalker was denied a title of master, even though he was placed on the Jedi Council mainly for political reasons, because Emperor, or not Emperor, but the Senator Palpatine insisted. And of course, Jedi Masters are the ones who are allowed to plate with Electrum. We're never told the in-canon lore reason that Anakin put this on here. But certainly, for the more conservative members of the council, especially like, say, Mace Windu, who's very much into ceremony, this would have been frowned upon. it would have again been an example of Skywalker's perceived arrogance and willingness to buck the rules. Now, we feel like this shouldn't be Electrum. I doubt that he would have been allowed to go that far, but maybe he just gold plated it, and so it looks close to Electrum, to the in-lore metal, and it was maybe his little middle finger to maybe Mace and the rest of the Jedi Council, let's just say. But it's definitely very flashy. This is the heavy knurling of the middle grip, and again, lore reason for this is that this helps with the grip because Anakin Skywalker is supposed to be one of the greatest practitioners of Form 5 of lightsaber combat, Gemso, and Gemso requires heavy strikes, two-handed strikes, and so this was there to kind of give him a little bit extra grip so he doesn't lose it. Remember that the in-movie joke is that Anakin would often lose his lightsaber because he got into so many shenanigans, and so maybe this was sort of a callback to that, so that he would not lose it, especially in combat. He would be able to grip it tightly while he was doing the heavy strikes of Gemso. Remember that the lightsaber from Attack of the Clones was lost in the Geonosis factory. I think it was destroyed during the conveyor belt scene in that movie. So that's where the knurling is coming from. You can see this is beautifully machined, symmetrical, beautifully done. And then moving on, this is where the glass eye used to be for the original Graflex, flash gun. And you can see the little screws. This is, of course, taken right from the Graflex from Star Wars New Hope. Both of those connectors. And of course, you can see the knurled button, but instead of a button you can actually press down, this is just a copper or brass coated, again, to give you that kind of design. And then the rabbit ears are no longer flimsy, actual rabbit ears from the flash gun, but machine metal. You can tell how thick it is and how sturdy it is, not nearly as flimsy as the rabbit ear, so it just looks a lot better. And then from below, I already showed you the beautiful brass coat on both. And then you can see there's one little extra bit of gold plating right down the center where the emitter is. And again, you don't see the actual area where you're holding the bulb. This is an idealized version, so this is just a simple circle. So there you have it, right there. You can see the shroud. And all throughout, just beautifully chromed. Here's the other side. Mirror sheen, so to speak. And again, just absolutely fabulous quality. This here is probably one of the few pieces of plastic, the black, right there. Everything else is just machined metal, chrome plated, aluminum, gold plated. Overall, this is just a absolutely gorgeous lightsaber and very, very heavy. All of these are heavy, but this is like way heavier than, let's just say, Mara Jade's signature edition. Not even close. Both the Obi-Wan and the Anakin are super heavy. So yeah, the areas of interest often are just scratches along the chrome. This chrome can get very easily damaged if you drop it or if you're not careful with it. As you can see, I only handle the lightsaber with the glove on, no exceptions. So there's a lot of potential pitfalls with damage there. And then a lot of problems here, with oxidation, rust, the gold plate here, a lot of problems. And of course, the rubber T-tracks degenerating and having problems as well. But, for this specimen, it's truly a stunning example of this lightsaber. Could not be more pleased with it. Finally getting it. There were a lot of close calls. After this one for quite a while, a lot of close calls, but finally managed to get one. With the mirror base, of course, again, on the left hand, there's the 2 notches. That's how you know that it's there to accommodate the T-tracks. And then this area here is smooth to accommodate the actual hilt itself. So it's meant for the rabbit ears to be facing straight up. So again, just sort of gently layering it here. And that's how it's supposed to sit. And then we will replace the plaque, double plaque. Run on over here. And that's it. I'm not going to replace the acrylic because I do like to show you this in all its glory. As you can see, it displays in a stunning fashion. And, you know, there you have it. I think I will make one more video a little bit later on. I might make a couple of these videos because I love these so much. So, you know, I might be alone in this, but I said before, I think there is a lack of great YouTube videos of these amazing master replicas, lightsaber hilts out there. So I'm trying to make as many as possible. I know Alex L, he's done quite a bit of those out there. I think he might be taking a small break. He's definitely, I think, going to try to get all of the signature editions, which is a great quest. I myself am 2 away. I still need the Darth Maul signature edition and the Anakin, which he has actually. He has the Anakin signature edition, but I'm missing that one at Maul's. But he has a lot of good YouTube videos out there. He's the only other guy I think who makes quite a bit, you know, of those. As you can see, the mirror surface is so polished that just moving this around my crappy turntable shaking is enough to get these things to kind of get out of position. But yeah, you know, I think I'm going to make another video maybe of this one when I get the Hayden Christensen signature plaques. So you can kind of take a look at that. That'll be a very short video. There won't be much to say, just to showcase how it's going to look, which I think is going to look pretty amazing. And I'm actually pretty surprised because it's not that hard to get Hayden Christensen's signature. He goes to a lot of cons, and it's like $200 and change to get it done. You have to spend a little bit of money, and you know, have to wait a little bit. You have to get Ariel to give, you know, to make his custom plaque, but he does that in like a couple of days, and then send it in and do all of that. So I'm just surprised that there's not more out there of the Revenge of the Sith lightsaber with the, you know, Hayden Christensen, like a custom, you know, MR plaque with Hayden Christensen's signature. I would think that would be pretty common, but maybe people do that, but they just don't, I don't know, make a YouTube video if they don't show it. But I've never really seen it shared on, say, Rebel Scum or RPF or, you know, YouTube. For sure, no YouTube video of it. Or even Facebook, you know, the Master Replicas Facebook page. So I kind of want to showcase that to see, you know, to kind of show you how awesome that looks when it comes in, hoping it'll come in a few months. And then later on, I will take the time to, I think, do a comparison between this hilt and the Star Wars Episode 4 New Hope, you know, Luke Skywalker signature edition. So you can actually see, again, those subtle design choices as the prop department actually looked at the original graphics light gun, which, you know, Master Replicas in great and loving detail, you know, kind of replicated for the collectors, and you know, how they took that original Graflex design and then used that to inspire a much more beautiful version, an idealized version of that for Episode 3. So I'm going to give it one more rotation so you can, you know, sort of appreciate all of the different aspects of this, and then we'll be done with this review. I just love the actual, like, you know, machined knurling here, sort of the upgrade of the little buttons, the brass, you know, the brass buttons, and then you know, obviously the control box design here, as well as the gold plate, the gold both in the gold lever, as well as the gold in the emitter. Very, very, you know, beautiful, classy hilts. So yeah, next video, I'm gonna maybe take a little break from lightsabers. I think the next video we're gonna go back to some statues that a lot of people have been waiting quite a bit on. But until then, I hope you enjoyed another little interlude of Master Replicas reviews. I'm hoping to get, you know, 1 or 2 more. Those are very, very high end. I don't know yet if I'm going to be able to acquire, but hopefully I will. and then I'll make a review at that point. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this review, and do take care. This is Master Replica's limited edition Anakin Skywalker lightsaber from Revenge of the Sith Episode 3 Star Wars.